How did Inside NBA change once Kenny and Chuck joined the crew?
It got worse. No. You know what? To me, I worked with Kenny first.
Yeah.
And you guys know there's just, you either have that or you don't have that. You know, if somebody has to talk you into being on TV, or if somebody has to say, oh, I really wish you would do this, you know, and you really, you know, that's one thing. But when you got it, you got it. Kenny had it, you know. Kenny was late in his career. He was working his way through 10 days, you know. Like he'd be on the show one time and say, hey, yeah, I was with Detroit, now I'm with so-and-so, you know. So, but man, he just has a gift.
So you transitioned into media, you're able to join TNT. Did you have any idea what you were getting yourself into?
Somewhat. I never wanted to be in media, but I just enjoyed it because I love the game. I mean, if you come to my house tonight, it's going to be 5 of us sitting around. We're going to be talking about the game, talking about whatever it is. That's what we did. So my brother always says, you know, he should get paid half my TNT contract because I use his stuff. You know, my cousin says that. We all do. We do group chats and like that's what we do. So but I did notice like that most people couldn't in 30 seconds explain.
That's important.
What was going on. And not only explain it, but explain it to you guys who were at the highest level and also where my grandmother could understand.
Right.
I was like, oh, they can't do that. I just had that knack. And I think, you know, if we're going to talk the talk, I think what makes me the best in the business is I see the peripheral. Like, I don't see, like, when I walked in here, I could see the environment that's created and I could feel the energy of what part of each team that you pull from. Just based off of like a 5-minute walkthrough. I don't know, that's just a gift that God's given me. And it's just in life. Like I could see that in life, but I could see, I'm like, oh, that person's important to this process. I'm like, oh, my man here said like 2 comments. He jumped in. He's the only one who jumped in and neither one of y'all said anything. He's important to the process. When like y'all allow him to speak.
Former player, yeah.
Yeah, but those are the things I know. Right. So those are things I bring to the show. I'm like, no. You know, when this guy, like it was a player that had an unbelievable game. And great player. And I was like, I'm not sure if his teammates like him. They're like, what do you mean? I was like, because I could tell by the reactions on the bench what's authentic and what wasn't. Like, if I had 50, everybody on the team would be going crazy. If, like, or one of my teammates, I would know. I'm like, but a guy ain't really feeling getting 50. I'm like, yo, man, I'm not. It's a different energy. And those are the things that I notice, and I'm like, that's why they're gonna win, or that's why they won't win. And I think, you know, where Shaq and Charles, they come from I always say Charles is, he's a flashlight. And I know y'all have had some beef. Everybody has some beef with you, but you could never have beef with Charles in this way, I would say, because he looks at life through a flashlight and not a floodlight. So if you look at life through a flashlight, he's like, man, everybody in here got on Jordans. No, I got on Jordans. He's got the flashlight. He's correct in it, but when you put the floodlight on it, everybody else. So, but sometimes the flashlight is super accurate because he's pointing it directly at you. But sometimes he misses things. My job was always to bring the floodlight to the situation and go, nah, you're right, but it's not that only, you know? So he has an accuracy point to it that will rub you the wrong way or you would overlove. I think he gets too much credit sometimes, and then sometimes I think he gets too much the other way. But he's accurate all the time, but it's a flashlight.
Then when you get a chance to have Chuck on the show.
Oh, man.
You know, and it looked for all the world like he was going to NBC. NBC was right here with him. He said, you know, he had verbally agreed with, you know, to go to NBC. and he comes down to Atlanta and goes out with the Turner folks one night.
Over with.
I don't know what that night was like, but it must have been good.
Over with.
Yeah, and so he signs with us. And your only hope is that the things that made him an attractive, option to be on your air is that he'll maintain that he won't lose that. Because look, in the course of my years there, we've had guys on the air who you thought from watching them interviewed or that kind of thing, you say, oh, this guy would be great on TV. Yeah. And then the red light goes on and they'd rather be getting a root canal. Yeah, and and they don't want to piss anybody off. I don't want to say this because this, and
that's
I'm not
Chuck.
gonna. Yeah, no, Chuck doesn't care, and that's great, and that's the way Chuck's always been. Right. Anytime he was interviewed as a player, and then after his playing days, he's going to tell you what's on his mind, and if you don't agree, that's fine.
That's okay. Yep.
But what he's not going to do is back away from it and say, no, I can't say that.
Right.
And he's got that over me because sometimes there are times in a commercial break where I'll say something. He said, "Oh, you got to say that on the air." I said, "No, I'm not gonna do that." He said, "Oh, I'm stealing it." I said, "You go ahead. You take that."
Did you see, obviously the transition you made look seamless and fun, but did you see yourself, like you said, you're going on year 23 of talking about basketball?
No, I had no idea. So when Dick Ebersol called me one day, he says, "Charles, you want to get together for dinner?" I said, "Of course." Because you guys, y'all probably remember, NBA started on NBC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I tell people all the time, it's so funny being old. All these motherfuckers think there's always been, everybody had a cell phone. They think there's, I'm so old, there was no ESPN when we started. Mm-hmm. We flew commercial. My first 3 or 4 years in the NBA, we flew commercial.
Wow.
That's how crazy, that's how long ago it was. And Dick Ebersol said to me, "What do you think about going on television?" I says, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I said, obviously I gotta play a couple more years, but I don't know what, he says, "I think you'll be good on TV." He said, I think you'll be great on TV. He said, "You're always gonna be in trouble." I'm like, what does that mean? He says, clearly somewhere along the way you made up your mind. You were always just gonna be honest and deal with the ramifications. I said, well, that was actually interesting because when I first started becoming a star, I think I was at the end of my second year, my third year in the NBA. Because my first few years in the NBA, nobody talked to me. It was Doc, Moses, Maurice Cheeks, Andrew Toney, Bobby Jones. I was the rookie. Motherfucker didn't even mention me, didn't come to me. So when those guys started getting older, and then at the end of my second year, I started having success. My third year, I think I made the All-Star team, and so they started coming to me, and I really wanted everybody to like me. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, I was trying to answer every question politically correct and blah, blah, blah. And I pulled Dr. J aside one day. I said, "Doc, I'm having a hard time." He says, "Yeah, this is a very," and him and Moses probably were the two great influences for me, talking about, like, Moses got me in shape. But Doctor, he says, "Now this is a very slippery slope, trying to answer every question, and not
correctly.
make him or her not making them mad." And he says, it's impossible to do that. He says, so you're gonna have to figure out how you want to handle this. He said, you can try to make everybody happy, or you can be honest, but with honesty come repercussions. And I tried to do it the politically right way in the beginning, and then I was like, I'm still getting shit from other people.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm gonna be honest. He says, now, they're gonna be coming for you. Mm-hmm. You better be great at basketball, but you can get away with saying what you want to if you're great at basketball. If you suck at basketball and you honest, they're gonna come get your ass. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, I better be great at basketball. So when I was sitting with Mr. Ebersol at that meeting, he says, what happened to make you be honest? He said, I tried pleasing everybody and I realized I couldn't. And you guys know it's impossible.
Right.
Somebody mad about something.
Damn if you do, damn if you don't.
Yeah, so I said, I'm just gonna be honest and straightforward. And people get mad, fuck them, they get mad. And I made that decision to just be a straight shooter. And he says, you're gonna be great, but you're always gonna be in trouble because people gonna get mad at what you say. And that was kind of the turning point in this whole thing. And like I say, people get mad, and I've lost friends, and people get mad, but I can say this, I've never said anything on television personally about a person. I look at the situation, I try to be honest, I try to be fair. I've criticized the good ones, I've criticized the great ones, I've criticized the bad ones, but I actually I can honestly say, I think I've been very fair, especially as a player.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I have to criticize a player, I try to be fair about it.
How did this addition of Shaq happen? How did that even happen with the big fella coming on?
I think everybody, look, when a larger than life guy like that is done playing, everybody wants him.
And a kid at that, a big kid at that.
World's biggest child. But if he's going to be out there and he's going to want to do TV, you got to be crazy not to make a run at him.
Right.
And so everybody makes a run at him. But I think, there were some growing pains. I'll be honest, man.
Right.
It's like, number one, you're switching careers, okay? So nobody expects you to jump from that into this seamlessly, okay. But he's, what he looked at with our show is the fun we had.
Yeah.
Shaq just happens to be an all-world basketball player. It wasn't because he studied every player in the game or is this great student of how to play. That's like, he just happens to be really good at that. So it wasn't like the breakdown of games that had him saying, I'd like to be on that show. It was that some crazy stuff happened on our show, and he wanted to be part of that. And so, and that was from the jump. He'd get on there in that first show and said, push that Christmas tree over on me. We'll get a lot of YouTube hits.
He's with the shit too. He's down for fun.
Yeah.
So
he is, man.
Yeah.
And we would, it got to the point after the first couple of months where he was throwing out all these suggestions. You can tase me. I've been to stunt school.
I've been to stunt school.
But I could just picture him saying all this shit.
No, and Kenny and Kenny was like, Shaq, take a step back. He said,
pace yourself, big fella.
We're afraid you're going to set fire to yourself, and we're not even halfway through your first year here. Because I think what he had to realize that is a lot of what is funny on our show is really organic.
Yeah, that's
It just happened.
And what makes you guys such a great team? Obviously, so many different insights and perspectives and points of views with Ernie and Shaq and Chuck. But what do you think makes you guys?
We're the only show on television that listens. The only show. Like everybody else has their written notes, and they're gonna I write shit down. I'm gonna write stuff down. I'm gonna get this point out. But if Jack says something that makes me go another direction, not even on that point, I'm gonna stay with that. Because that's where the topic is. So we're listening instead of I gotta get this out about Kyrie tonight.
A lot of people listen to respond instead of listen to understand. Yeah.
Like they are, it's like you've been in an argument before where the person has already got their prerequisite. You telling them, no, I really was there at 6 o'clock, and they're waiting to get their point back out. No, I'm listening. Oh, you was there at 6? Tell me how you were there at 6. Explain it.
Right.
And that's the only thing that separates us to me. And that's a hard job to listen. You can't just say, okay, today I'm gonna start listening. They just put 4 guys together that listen. We always didn't. And Shaq didn't listen at first. And until he realized we were listening. And I told Shaq, he was terrible, honestly, his first 6 months on the show.
You guys did some little piece on, what was it? You guys went behind the scenes of Inside.
Yeah, we did a documentary.
I watched
terrible.
that. Yeah.
Oh, he was terrible. He was terrible. And 2 things happened that made him great. I don't know. I went to him first and I was like, bro, the stories you say in the green room are bananas. The stuff you saying about Kobe and Like, you got to bring that to the, he's like, nah, they don't. I was like, Shaq, that's one. I said, the other thing is like, this the first time in your life you ain't the most dominant player. First time. Like, we might be better than you at this. So just be you and blah, blah, blah. And then the second thing happened. So Shaq used to come in and be Shaq. Y'all know what Shaq is. Shaq is a movie. Shaq's gonna walk around, he's got 10 people coming in. He created a hookah lounge. In the studio. And they let him do this. They were like, he was like, I have to have my hookah. So he has a hookah lounge outside they make, and they put a TV outside the studio. We got a green room. Like, yo, man, Chuck in the green room. We doing this for 15 years together. This dude gonna come in. Y'all gonna build a hookah lounge for him? Like, what the fuck? What's going on, yo? Like, what's going on? And then he's got entourage. He's got Jerome and them, and Mark, they driving, everybody's driving, one's driving the Rolls, one driving the Bentley, one the Ferrari. It's like, it's just a movie. And me and Chuck Chuck for sure, and Chuck is very sensitive. He's like, he doesn't like it. I'm used to that in a way, like, I'm okay with dudes who are themselves, but Chuck is not having it. So now, he's not watching the game. He's literally, DJ equipment. No, kid you not. He's practicing his DJ while the game is going on. They letting him get away with all that. So, because he's Shaq. So now he comes on the show and he's like, he says something like, yeah, and DeAndre Jordan needed, and DeAndre's not playing tonight. So me and Charles like, because we sit next to each other. He's hitting me and I'm hitting him. We gonna get his ass today. So we just lighting into him. Oh, and we just going, you don't know this. And so now we saying stuff about the game because we know he didn't watch. So then our producer comes downstairs and he's like, what the fuck is going on? Y'all giving him a hard time like that? You embarrassing him on our national TV? I'm like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Since when don't we make fun of each other when you don't know the shit?
Right. Because Matt sure gonna do it.
Anybody can get it.
Oh,
and it goes like this. And then the producer goes like this. You're right. Okay, go. Get him.
Get him.
And from that day on, he turned. He's like, I gotta be on point.
No shit.
He got on point.
Yeah.
Folks, it's officially summer. And while the perfect summer playlist may be elusive, one thing is for sure. It always gets better with the cold Coors Light. On a hot summer day, what better combo is there than a barbecue, good music, and an even better beer? Whether you're at the beach, on the patio, or at a concert, there's no better beer than Coors Light. Coors Light is cold lagered, cold filtered, and cold packaged for a smoother finish. Coors Light is the only choice when you're ready to choose chill. Straight from the Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado. When the mountains turn blue, you're ready to choose chill. So amplify your chill this summer with Coors Light. Choose chill, choose Coors Light. I know I'll be all summer. Make sure you celebrate responsibly. Go to CoorsLight.com/summermusic to see how Coors Light can amplify your summer. And be sure to keep an eye out for Coors Light social handles all summer long for exciting announcements.
As players, like you spoke on earlier, when you hear certain people talk about you, it's that, oh shit, okay, TNT, the post-game crew is that for us as players. What was it like, to transition into that and being a focal point with that team?
It came a year too early. Because when I left you, I had a 2-year deal in Boston. I wanted the Shaq tour. I wanted it. But the Achilles came out. I wasn't going to even try and come back. I was just going to take a year off travel. And then they come to the house and say, hey, man, we want to hire you. And I'm like, all right. So I'm trying to be like Brian Gumbel. I'm terrible. Awful. And then, Charles going to take up the whole segment by talking. I only get a few seconds. Right? So then the guy...
Remember that shit used to piss you off, though?
Yeah, it did.
That shit used to because he used to say it on air, like, damn, motherfucker, you talking too much.
So then the guy come downstairs and said, man, we ain't bring you here for that. We want you to be Shaq.
Right.
I said, okay. So once I started doing that, it's better. And, the good thing about that show is they allow us to be ourselves. And I think from a basketball standpoint, we have a lot of experience. The fans know that, you got 2 Hall of Famers up there, and you got a guy that was a part of a championship team, and you got Ernie. So I think our respectability is up there.
with all due respect, within the context of your championships and kind of that era, that was a 2-year period that Mike had took off. How do you feel like you guys would have fared your 2 championship
First of all, he
teams
didn't
first?
take off.
Or, excuse me, he went to go play.
He was playing for, he came back as number 45
Yeah.
in the second one.
Second one, yeah.
He came back as number 45. And when he had 55 in the Garden, nobody was saying he was selling, he wasn't Mike. You know, we would have beat their ass. Because, like,
Dream was too much around that
Man.
time.
no,
man.
no, think about this.
Dream was too much.
There's a couple things. Michael's still the best player in the world that I've ever seen. But that means he would have had to win 8 championships in a
It's a
row.
lot.
He's not going to win 8 in a row. He's not. Nobody's done it in the modern era. He wouldn't have done that. Secondly, there was no Horace Grant.
That's right, he was gone.
He left. And then they became way too small. Because even that was regular season. In the regular season years, we went 7-1 against them or 6-2. They never beat us in the regular season. We used to go to Chicago, smack them, come back to Houston, smack them up. You know, they like BJ and Paxson, those guys were good players, but they were too slow for us in the perimeter. And no one, and Winnington and them couldn't guard them.
No chance.
And for some reason, Scotty wasn't Scotty then. He wasn't a scorer. You need, he needed to score
another
more.
scorer.
So I think we would have got him because of that. There was no Rodman. Now, when they got Rodman, I'm like,
It's different.
I'm like, I don't know if them Rockets we would have got them, but they were too little
At that time.
And that's why Shaq and them got him. Because when he came back, it wasn't he was coming back from baseball. They were too little to guard Shaq. They lost to a team 4-2 that we swept. We swept Shaq and them.
Smacked him, yeah.
So like, no. They would not have beaten us. And then if I didn't come in there and I'm not splashing you with threes, Sam Cassell is coming in there giving you 25.
Young
Robert
Sam.
Horry was the new Scottie Pippen then. He wasn't like standing outside and he was handling the ball,
Duncan.
flying through the air. Otis was in the first one.
Yeah.
And then Clyde, they wouldn't have beat us. They would not have beat us because they were just too little and they wouldn't have won 8 in a row. Something would have happened. Somebody would have left because of contract. Somebody would have got hurt. Something. They wouldn't have beat us.
And I get picked number 5 by the Sixers.
Ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, that's right. But I'm playing with real players. Can't play at that weight. But don't know it. Just, I'm a rookie. Hey, rookies ain't playing a ton. I'm playing some minutes. But then I'm not getting no quality minutes. And so me and Moses happen to live in the same building. Moses lived in the penthouse. I live on the 6th floor, if I remember correctly. And I said, Mo, can I come see you tonight? And he said, sure. And I called him Dad, even to the day. And one of the most bittersweet things, his family knew how close we were. I got to to do the eulogy at his funeral. I love that dude. So I go up, I said, Big Mo, why am I not getting to play? He said, oh, young fella, you're fat and you're lazy.
Plain and simple.
I'm like, what? He says, you're fat and you're lazy. He said, Charles, can't play at 300 pounds in the NBA, young fella. You're too fat and too lazy. Can't work hard at 300 pounds. And I went downstairs and cried, not gonna lie. But he says, you wanna lose weight? I'll come meet you before practice, I'll meet you after practice. I said, please. And this dude says, and he did it in a way, that's how smart he was. He did it in a way, he says, let's lose 10 pounds.
Together.
Yeah, he said, let's lose 10 pounds. He met me before practice, met me after practice. I get to 290. And I noticed, even at 10 pounds, I'm like, I can work a little bit harder. He said, okay, let's lose 10 more. I'm like, okay. I get to 280. Now I'm actually getting to play. He says, let's lose 10 more. Now I'm at 270. Now I'm really getting to play. It's not because I can work. 30 pounds is a lot. Get to 260. Now I'm starting. Now I'm really can work my eyes out. He says, I want to try something. He says, let's get to 250. I'm like, okay, shit working, I'm good. I get to 250. Now things are really starting to take off. I actually got to 240, but I said, I don't feel strong. He said, 250 is your weight. Wow. But he was so smart if you had told me to lose 50 pounds, I was like, there's no fucking way I can lose 50 pounds. There's no way. And I lost the 50 pounds, and the rest is history. But for that guy taking me under his wing, first of all, he was already one of the best to ever do it. For him to take a little fat kid under his wing, it changed my whole life.
You're a father of 6, 2 biological, 4 adopted. I find that very interesting because that's what my mom wanted to do, was adopt, but unfortunately she passed from cancer in 2007. So talk to us about just fatherhood, everything you fought through in your personal health life to still be here and be the father you are and your children, for your children.
I mean, Cheryl Ann and I are blessed, you know, and she, you have a boy and a girl. You know, you get married in 82, you got a boy in 84, you get a girl in 87, and it's like, okay, we're done. We're set. That's good. Let's not mess with that. You know, then the unscripted part of your life kind of kicks in, because my wife is just has this wonderful heart.
But we know, because you talk about it so highly on the show. We all feel like we know your wife. Man.
I know. Well, I apologize for doing it. I
not apologize.
But she's like, I come home from work one day and she says, you know what we need to do? And I'm like, chicken or fish, whatever you feel like. I'll eat anything. And she's like, we need to go to Romania and get one of these kids out of an orphanage over there. Because she had seen the ABC News 2020 about these kids just warehoused in this thing. And they're special needs kids. They're being forgotten. And so we wind up, she goes, I stay here. I'm in Atlanta with our kids who were like 4 and 7 at the time.
Oh, they were still babies.
Yeah, so I'm taking care of them. She's more worried about them than she is about her trip to Romania. She's like, man, I'm gonna come home and those kids are not gonna have had a vegetable for 2 months. Yeah, but yeah, so we had a lot of pizza and putt-putt while she's over there. But she goes over there and finds this little boy who's got all these issues, and calls me from Romania and says, I don't know what I can. This boy is so much more than we can handle. He's 3 years old, he can't walk, he can't talk. And he said, but I just can't imagine going the rest of my life wondering what happened to this kid. I was like, bring him home. And he was, he had issues, still does. I mean, and then he gets diagnosed with muscular dystrophy, and there's no cure for that. And most of the time, a lot of times, kids don't get out of their teens. Guy's 32 now, man. I got this 32-year-old miracle at my house. And he's on a ventilator. Can't do anything on his own. But he's amazing. And
you guys are amazing.
No, you know what? God's amazing.
Yeah.
We adopted a little girl from Paraguay, Carmen. She's 28. Adopted 2 kids out of foster care in Ohio, who are now 20 and 21. But it's not because me and Cheryl are great, and we don't do this for any pats on the back. It's just like everybody. There's value in everybody.
Yes.
If you will look for it, there's value in everybody, and everybody deserves a chance to shine. Absolutely. And a chance to be what they can be. And so I think that's what has always been at the root of our heart for adoption, is that let's give somebody a chance. Let's give this Romanian kid a chance. He was abandoned in a park when he was born. Wow. The first time he'd been outside, when my wife took him outside in that orphanage when he was 3 years old, the first time he was outside since he was found in a park. And so I think that we've just tried to teach our kids that there's value. Look for the value. Don't look for the things that tell you, the nurse who brought Michael out to Cheryl the first time that they met said, don't take this boy, he's no good. And so this boy who's no good has impacted so many people just with his life. And Beautiful. No, we got it good, man. And I got 4 grandkids now too, so.
Grandpa Ernie.
We got, Poppy. That's
Papa
what they call
Ernie.
me, Poppy. Poppy. And my life is good, fellas.
But I can remember this vividly. I'm signing, as soon as I get signed, Mr. West said, hey man, I just moved Vladdy. I don't know how I got this kid. I got a kid named Kobe Bryant. You and him, we gonna get multiple championships. And I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Because I'm looking at all them goddamn zeros. Yeah. So, well, yeah, he said that. Like, he saw something in Kobe that nobody saw. And then in an interview, Kobe reminded me that he came to Orlando to see Penny, and Penny kind of blew him off, and he had this sad look on his face, and I grabbed him, was like, come on, man, take a picture. I never knew that was him.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I never knew that was him until he told me, you know, when we did that TNT Laker thing, he's like, you don't remember meeting me? He never told me that. Like, you know, through all the years that we played in there, he never told me that.
He told us the Penny story. I didn't know that you, that's dope.
How did you and Kobe connect when y'all arrived at the same time?
He was a guy that wanted it right away. And we all understand pecking order. My team. That ain't about to happen.
Right.
But I saw that he had something in him. And he wanted it right away. A lot of guys don't have that when they come in. A lot of guys just like to go through the rope, but he wanted it. So his rookie year, we let him do what he do, make his mistakes. But the defining moment in his greatness was we were playing Utah. Nobody wanted to take the last shots. I'm not taking the last shot, shooting 40% from the free throw line. Y'all ain't gonna be talking about me. Shaq lost the game. So he takes 3 shots to air balls. If you can remember, and I hope you can show this clip, I was the one that grabbed him and said, hey man, don't worry about it. One day people gonna fear you. And the next year he come in, we come in a little more. He wanted it. And this is where I wish I was a little bit more tactful. Egos get in the way. That word, my team, will mess you up.
Yeah.
Right? Especially from a big guy giving up to a little guy. I don't play that shit. So but fortunately it still worked out. We still won 3 out of 4, but a lot of necessary stuff that shouldn't have happened because of the ego. And it was probably my fault. But one thing I never do is I never disrespect nobody.
Right.
I ain't gotta like you. I ain't gotta do what you do. But if you open in the corner, Matt, even if we had a fight the other day, I know you're gonna knock that down for me.
Yeah.
I'm kicking it. So, you know, even though we didn't hang out or do anything of that, I'm always looking for him first. And he's always looking for me when he go into the hole to get double teamed, he dropping it off. So I think that helped us.
You guys had the unfortunate duty of being live on air with the Kobe tragedy. What was the emotion like and energy like, and how tough was it to be able to get through that particular night?
I've never been in a show like that, I mean, in 31 years. It was the most unique show I've ever hosted. And because it was so fresh from, I mean, it happened Sunday, we're in LA Tuesday, and we are in the middle of Staples Center, empty, just to talk about it. Shaq hadn't even talked to anybody about it at that point. Jerry West is on the show. We just had other voices. I think Rick Fox was on that show at some point. And it was just, you know what? It was one of those days where it just told you that this job we're doing sometimes can go above and beyond being just a basketball show, because everybody in the country was kind of coming to grips with, how do you deal with this? How do we deal with these emotions we're feeling? And for Shaq to be sitting there and just pour his heart out. Jerry West do the same thing, Chuck Kenny. I mean, I can't even put into words how impactful that was for us to do it, and just by gauging the reaction of people, that it helped some people get through it too. And that's not to put any self-importance on us, like, oh, look what it was good for us all to talk about it, to lock eyes and say, yeah, man, it hurts. I hope we never have to do another one.
Still hard to talk about. Right. For me, right, you know, just thinking about it right now, man, it's still hard to even talk about.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, when Jerry was sitting there, you know, talking about what was going through his mind when he decided that he had to have Kobe Bryant, you know, and those first few years and how tight they were, you know, the tears start coming, and we're not there to stop them.
Right.
We're just there to kind of put a hand on his shoulder and say,
We feel you, right?
This is what you're doing, and you know who gets a lot of credit. And you may not know this story. You know who gets a lot of credit for the way that show came off is the folks, you know, like our salespeople, because we're supposed to do like a 4 or 5 segment show, our pregame show leading up to the game that we were going to show that night, and we didn't take a commercial break. I think maybe we took one. And so like our producer, Jeremy, was calling them and saying, I don't think I can.
Can't cut this.
We can't stop this. We can't stop this and then go to commercial and come back. And they said, just go.
Wow.
And that was one of those things where it said, I don't care what this does in terms of the sponsors and the bottom line, and we value the sponsors and all that stuff. And I know they're supposed to get this, but the recognition that this is special.
We lost a brother. Yeah, we lost.
And we're not going to cut somebody off because we got to get to commercial. And somebody may be struggling to get the words out, and we don't care if they're going to sit for 30 seconds and gather their thoughts. That silence was speaking volumes.